welcome back to another video. In this video, many of you guys have been requesting for a tutorial that shows more of a neutral eye, something you can wear to an interview, maybe to just a nice casual dinner out with your significant other or friends and family, something that just doesn't look like bang, here are my eyes or bang, here's my face. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you this really fun, very sultry, simple look using some MAC eyeshadows. I noticed a lot of you guys use MAC, so I have some MAC shadows. And then I will also show you my everyday foundation face routine. So I'll show you how I conceal, what I use for foundation, luminizer, bronzer, and all that fun stuff. So if you'd like to see how we created all this for my everyday makeup, and mind you, I'm letting you know right now, this is going to be a long video, but if you don't mind a long video and you want to learn some tips and tricks on how to create your everyday makeup, you stay tuned and keep on watching. Okay, let's get started with my everyday neutral eye. It has just a little bit of smokiness. The very first thing you want to do when you do this look definitely is prime your eyelid. And the primer I'm going to be using is again the Benefit, and it's the Stay Don't Stray Shadow Primer. And I apply that all over my entire lid. Now in this tutorial we're going to be using MAC eyeshadows, so this one seems to be the most common requested colors to use and the most easiest to obtain, I guess. So we're going to be using MAC shadows. For my everyday eyes, I typically like to have a little bit of smokiness because it adds a little bit of definition to my eye shape, and my eye shape tend to be a little bit more hooded, so this kind of helps open up the eye and just give the eye a little bit more definition. But what we're going to work on is that lid color, and the shade I will be using is called Bamboo. And I'm just going to be using my flat brush here from Sigma and just packing on the color just like so. But we're going to take that color and just apply it onto the lid. And now I'm going to take a tap of this one here and then also mix it into Orb. And we're going to go right on top of that just so it's not completely yellow. Just like so. Now the next color we're going to play with is by MAC as well, and the shade is called Brune. It's kind of like a slate brown or an umber color. Can't talk there. But I'm going to take my Sigma SS224 brush, and we're just going to take a little bit of that color, and we're going to start in the upper portion of our crease area, like right here. And we're going to start blending that in the crease itself and moving it toward the inner corner of the eye. And then we're going to start blending in circular motions and start moving that color all the way to, but not all the way to the brow bone area. This is going to create a little bit of dimension and depth to the eye area. And I'm just blending in a windshield washer motion just like so. Excuse my little freckle. I'm simply going to intensify just by adding more in that same starting point and blending the color back and forth just so we get that depth into the shadow like we have on the other side. And don't forget to blend out the outer corner area here. And I'm just simply moving that brush up and applying light motion or light pressure so that we get a nice defined crease and it starts to fade away. Now the next color I will be using is MAC Carbon. And this is kind of like a matte black, almost a grade black to me. It's not the blackest black, but I'm going to use a pencil brush. And this is from Sigma. And I'm going to take a little bit of color and dab it on the brush like so. And then we're going to start applying it to the lash. And we're going to start moving it into the inner crease, so in this little pocket right here, just to create a little bit more definition and depth to the eye area. And I'm just grabbing just a little bit more color, and we're going to go right in the crease area like so, just to find it. And like I said in the previous tutorial, it's kind of easier to kind of keep your eye open while you're defining the crease. And if you want a little bit more intense, go ahead and just add a little bit more color and just blend back and forth. And then we're going to also rub that same color and run it along the lower lash line. Now the next color I'm going to take is Orb. Again, using the tapered blending brush, just make sure it's cleaned off. I'm just going to tap just a little bit of that color onto the brush, and I want to highlight my brow bone area with Orb and also start to blend on the outer edge just to blend out the edges of this shadow just so we have a nice seamless finish. Now don't forget to also add a little bit more and move toward the inner corner of the eye to blend out any edges that has the dark shadow there. And then one other tip I would do, if you just have a spare brush, I'm just grabbing a Sephora rounded brush just like so. I'm going to take a little bit more of that Orb and just apply a little bit in the inner corner of my eye like so, just to brighten it up a little bit, just so it's not so dark. And then once you have that on, what I would recommend is go back and grab Bamboo and your flat brush that we used at the beginning and go back and kind of reset that color, because a lot of times what happens is when we work with the deep crease colors, the darker shadows fall on top of the lid and it darkens up your crease. And then take that taper blending brush and don't add any shadow and just simply go back and blend out any shadow just so you can get a nice finish to your eyeshadow. And once you've done that, you pretty much have the eye look. The only thing you need to do at this point is line your upper lash line. And again, I'm going to break out my favorite Revlon color, Stay in Black. And I'm just going to line my eye. And then I'm going to also go back and line the inner portion of my eye. And smooth out any edges like so. So we have the upper lash line lined, and then we're going to also grab Urban Decay. It can be any black liner you have, but I'm using the 24/7 Glide in 0, and I'm going to line my waterline. And then what I would recommend, if you have a smudger brush, I'm just going to be using my Sigma, and it's the E20 smudger. It's kind of flat and stiff. What I would recommend doing after you get the liner on the lash line is go back and kind of blotting or dabbing along the lower lash line, just so it helps to set that liner so you don't have too much liner bleed throughout the day. Even with those waterproof, if you put a lot of product on the waterline and don't set it, and I'm not putting any shadow, I'm just kind of setting it in place and moving around so there's not a lot of excess left on top, you will still possibly end up with a little bit of liner running throughout the day. Now, if you're blessed, like I always say in every bit of video, if you're blessed with long lashes, you can go ahead and use your favorite mascara. But you know, for me, I'm going to be adding on my false lashes, which are the Red Cherry number 43s. And if you see them in my previous videos, I'm going to apply those on and come back with the final look. Here is the final look. Added on the number 43s from MadameMadeline.com. These are Red Cherry number 43, and I have my mascara. But now I'm going to come back and show you what I do with my foundation and finish off this look step by step for my everyday face routine. Okay, so now that we're back, I pretty much don't have any foundation on my face. The only thing that I did put on, I applied my Eve Pearl, and this is the dark under eye concealer with the treatment in it, and I pretty much applied a little bit of this color underneath my eye just like so, just to help block out any dark circles. You can see it's kind of like a peachy honey tone to help really camouflage those dark circles, especially for those days I've been up editing videos or just been up just enjoying life. But that's what I use for my concealer. My shade is dark, and I purchased this from evepearl.com, and I tell you, this is like a godsend, you guys. I love this concealer. Now for my foundation, I use, and I will be using in this routine, is my NARS Sheer Glow, and this is the shade Cadiz. To apply this on, I'm going to be using a couple of tools for sure, because since this doesn't have a pump, and I believe you can go to Nordstrom's and buy a pump for this particular foundation, I'm going to be using a simple Q-tip. But for my NARS Sheer Glow, I just like to apply a little bit to my cheek areas where I want most of the coverage at. Definitely the bridge of my nose, my forehead, just make a little cross there. This looks kind of funny, huh? This is what I do when I wear makeup every day. Or the days I choose to wear makeup. It's kind of like painting on war paint. Okay, so I have my foundation on, okay? Now I'm just going to use my Sigma, and this is my SS187. I got this in the original kit almost 2 years ago, but you can tell I used this. But what I'm going to do, instead of stippling the product on, let me just pull my hair back a little bit. I'm just going to blend it and buff it in circular motions, just so I can get kind of more of a translucent coverage, or light to medium coverage, versus a full coverage by dabbing and stippling the color on. As you can see with the NARS Sheer Glow, it has a really beautiful luminescence to it. Now, as you may be noticing, I'm buffing along my neckline, going back into my hairline, just so I can get a nice even finish with the foundation. But what you're going to know is I'm going to switch to, and I talked about this in my haul video, I'm going to be using my MAC 130 brush, and it's a dual fiber that's shorter. I like to use that around this area of my face. I will go and buff along the forehead, get really close to the brow area, and then I will also run it along underneath the eyes and finish off buffing up any areas like so. And don't forget to kind of buff and blend in this area if you're wearing eyeshadows. Otherwise, you end up with having just, you know, patches of circles around your eyes, and you really want that really buffed in nicely. So as you can see, we have the foundation on, but that's Cadiz. Now that I have everything buffed on, I'm just going to be taking a simple powder brush, and if you have to know, it's my Sigma SS150, and I'm going to be using my NARS, and the pressed powder is called Mountain, and this is the color of what it looks like. But I'm just going to simply dust on just a little bit just to set the powder foundation. I'm dabbing anywhere I have concealer, and anywhere else I'm just going to buff it on. I mainly put most of it on my T area. That's where I get most of the, I'm about to stab my eye. I mainly apply this on my T-zone. That's where most of my oils are, and everywhere else I'm okay. But I'm not using a lot of powder, so you don't want to end up with a very cakey appearance to your makeup. Now for contouring, sometimes I will contour around my nose if I just want to give a little shaping. So I'm going to use my NARS, and this is called Casino, and this is a bronzer that has a little bit of shimmer. So if you don't want to have much shimmer when you're contouring, definitely go with a matte bronzer, and there's plenty of them on the market, but I'm just going to take a little bit and run it along this area here and move it into the plane of my brow area and lightly buff it out, because you don't want to have a really stark line. And I'm also going to go on the other side and contour my nose, and also make sure I blend back into this area of my eye and move it around the nose. So this will create a smoother, more defined area of my nose. If you wanted to look pointier, look, you just saw a magic illusion happen with my nose. You can do that. Just make sure again you buff and blend out. And then for the remainder of my face, I'm just going to be grabbing another Sigma brush, and this is a powder blush brush number F110, and I'm using the same Casino powder, and I'm just going to use this to add a little color to my complexion. I'm not going to really be putting any blush on. This is kind of something I do really quick and fast when I want some color on. Just along the contours of my cheek. I will splash a little bit on my cheekbone if I want to get a little bit of color. And then to bring just a little bit more color to my forehead, I'm going to blend into my hairline and add the bronzer there to warm up everything up, because I tend to have a larger forehead, so I like to minimize there. And then again, I'll go at the tip of my chin just to kind of give my face just a little shape, because you know, I need to slim it down a little bit. But that's what I use for warming up my face and contouring. And then the last thing I will use is I have so many favorites, y'all, so don't quote me on favorites sometimes. But I'm breaking out my MAC Soft and Gentle. This is the mineralized skin finish, and I'm going to be using a tapered highlighting brush from Sigma. I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and because since I still want to have that glow, I'm going to rub it along. But you see that? Look at that. See that? Love it. But I'll rub along the upper portion of my cheekbone, the center of where I've contoured. I'm going to go in between that and add a highlight there. And then I'm also going to highlight along this side too. And then you also can do is highlight the cupid bow if you want underneath the lip. And then for my lip color, you guys, for every day, I just like to use a simple lip gloss, and I'm going to break it out, but you guys have seen this. This is the NARS lip gloss in Orgasm. Is it upside down? Yes, it is. Orgasm. And I'm just going to apply just a little bit of that on my lip. And that's pretty much my everyday face makeup. This one, you know, it's perfect enough where you can wear it to, if you're going on an interview and you want something very neutral to wear, go on an interview, you can wear this going on a nice date. I mean, you can wear this every day without it being too punchy and too avant-garde. So that's the final look, you guys. I keep moving around like a little bobblehead, but if you happen to notice in the video, I have something really fun on my nails. What I picked up, and before this video gets too long because it's super long, Sally Beauty Supply carries these Art Club, and it's called Glam, and they're stickers kind of like the Sally Hansen stickers, but that's what's on my nails. And very shortly there's going to be a video showing you step by step on how I created this look using, I basically just want an accent, and then the rest of my nails pretty much a neutral tone. So if you like that, stay tuned, that'll be coming up. And that's pretty much it, you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and you guys stay tuned and have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!